Too Much and Never Enough by Mary L. Trump Review, a scathing takedown of Uncle Donald. This blistering memoir by the president's niece reveals the twisted dynamic of America's malignantly dysfunctional first family. Honestly, I didn't need a book to know this. Glad she's sticking it to him and airing their dirty laundry, but I have no interest in reading a book about someone I can't stand. Personally, I think a big reason for the book was that she wanted to separate herself from the Trump family, and this was an effective way to set herself apart. You know your family is dysfunctional when you have an NDA. I bought the audiobook so that I did not have to look at his face on the cover. It's a very interesting story about a dysfunctional family and their love of money above all. I read it yesterday. It's actually much more about Fred Sr. and the family as a whole. Donald obviously features throughout, but it's more of a case history of the Trump family than a specific study of Donald himself. Still learned a few things, even if I knew how awful most of them were beforehand. Apparently, she was under a non-disclosure agreement with the family as part of her grandfather's inheritance settlement. The president and his sister had represented the estate as being worth $30 million. It was closer to $1 billion. The additional wealth was hidden in a tax evasion scheme, and this misrepresentation invalidated the settlement and corresponding NDA. I have read the prologue so far, and there are lots of eye-opening things already. The main one that stuck out for me was when Mary and family visited the White House for a family meal, and after they had sat down, Jared walked in. Ivanka excitedly proclaimed that he had returned from the Middle East, but they had just seen him in the Oval Office. Weird, just very weird. My favorite part so far was the shade that Jared's father threw on the Trump family not being good enough at his son's wedding, even though he was fresh out of prison for blackmailing his brother with a prostitute. The book is what you may expect, a family tragedy centered on a child's search for acceptance by an emotionally distant and negligent father, and the global repercussions that come. However, in my opinion, the single most disturbing segment came in a recounting of an experience with her Uncle Rob, who, when returning from playing soccer, would eat an entire brick of Philadelphia cream cheese like a candy bar, wash it down with a soda, and then go back to playing soccer. Consider this. Chew it, if you will. I just finished reading it. Nothing earth-shattering there if you've already read the New York Times article about his taxes. As a writer, I found the narrative a bit haphazard in construction, but it is a heartbreaking tale of abuse and toxic family relationships for sure.
The pirates stuck in Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that, but I still found her insights into how Trump's parents made the family so dysfunctional very illuminating. She definitely knows far more than people outside the Trump family, and her PhD in clinical psychology definitely helps break down why Trump is the way he is. Spoiler, absent mother, horrible father. If you read the book, it's very clearly exactly the kind of stuff a niece who is also a clinical psychologist would know. Most of the book consists of family info that is public knowledge, the bit of contact she had with her uncle at holidays, and via a lawsuit over inheritance, and her own memories of her father and grandfather, Trump's brother and father. It's mostly about the dysfunction of the family as a whole, and a bit of speculation about what that might mean for Donald J. Trump's psychology. So it seems entirely credible. There are no wild claims or accusations. If you come from an abusive family like I do, it will all feel very standard. Only at about $1 billion, LOL. I've read this already. It's a fairly short read. She's a great writer, and it's an easy book to get into, not unlike a Stephen King novel. There's a lot of minutia, and she goes deep into her grandfather and his narcissism, psychopathy. Much of the book deals with her father, Freddie, the eldest son. I'm sick of all the news being about Trump lately. This was refreshingly interesting and a totally different view of Trump and family. I enjoyed the book and recommend it. If the only lasting impact Donald Trump has is to scare the average American voter into restricting the overreaching power of the executive branch, then I'll consider these last 4 years worthwhile. The president was never supposed to have the amount of power they currently enjoy. Limiting the power of the executive is a very good thing, and I hope people realize this now. The people who already think Trump is scum will read it. The people who think he's amazing will not. It doesn't matter that this book exists. Thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the review of Mary Trump's book by our dear Redditors. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and join me in the next episode.
Fight the pirates stuck in Disneyland Paris.